Following is a reading and commentary of Isaiah chapter 53. Isaiah 53 explained. This chapter will change your life, by author Mitch Glaser. Forward. One chapter really can change your life. That chapter is Isaiah 53. And the best-selling book in which it is found is the Bible, the Hebrew Scriptures, often described as the Old Testament. This brief volume is written primarily for those who are not religious. Since Isaiah 53 is found in the Hebrew Scriptures, much of what you are about to read is written with the Jewish reader in mind. However, this is not intended to be exclusively so. Like Jerusalem, a Jewish city important to many faiths, the Hebrew Scriptures, originally Jewish documents, are considered to be holy writings by Christians as well. The Old Testament is also referenced in the Quran. Therefore, even though this book is primarily written for Jewish people, hopefully it will be read and understood by those of a variety of faiths: Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, and those who do not claim allegiance to any formal religion, but are looking to deepen their relationship with God. There are a number of reasons why Isaiah 53 can change your life. As a chapter in the Jewish Bible, Isaiah 53 is part of the book that describes our history, ethics, religion, and the very basis for our Jewish heritage. There is also considerable information in the Hebrew Scriptures regarding God's love and plan for the Gentile nations. Whether or not you are Jewish, whether or not you are religious, I hope you will discover that reading and understanding Isaiah 53 will change your life. Allow me to offer a few compelling reasons why I hope you will find Isaiah 53 meaningful. This chapter will help you understand some things about yourself, especially regarding your relationship to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This chapter will demonstrate that the Bible can be trusted. This chapter will introduce you to God, who predicts the future and will also bring it to pass. This chapter will help shape your expectation of who the Messiah would be. You will discover how this chapter has been fulfilled in the life of the one whom many call the greatest Jew who ever lived. This book was written by a Messianic Jew, a Jewish person who believes that Jesus, Yeshua, is the Messiah of Israel and the fulfillment of Isaiah 53, and one whose life was completely changed as a result. Having been raised in a traditional Jewish home, I fully understand the challenges of keeping an open mind to the possibility that Jesus is the Messiah. So many of my fellow Jews are searching for a deeper spirituality and desire an intimate personal relationship with God. Many of us have not found this within the Jewish religion, but we would never consider detaching ourselves from the Jewish community. When I came to believe that Yeshua was the Messiah many years ago, I certainly had no intention of abandoning my Jewishness. I was looking for an authentic spirituality, and I imagine you might be interested in the same thing. I hope you might be willing to put aside, and at least for a moment, the common belief that you cannot be Jewish and believe in Jesus. After all, if one of our greatest Jewish prophets predicted the Messiah, messianic details that Yeshua ultimately fulfills, then we would certainly have the basis to believe that one can be Jewish and believe in Yeshua. More than anything, I hope that you read this brief volume. Your soul will be touched by God. I pray that your spiritual search for a deeper and more intimate relationship with the Creator will become a reality in your life as it has in mine. There is no relationship in the world more fulfilling, or one that brings greater joy and satisfaction and connection with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The purpose of this book is not to persuade you to change religions, but rather to discover a new relationship with the one who made you in his image and created you for this relationship. Not knowing God is like not knowing your mother or father. It leaves a hole in your soul that can only be filled by discovering where you have come from. Without knowing God, it is difficult to answer the fundamental question of life: why am I here? What is my purpose for living? What should I live? How should I live my life in a way that gives me the most fulfillment and helps me to be a better person? These are the questions that either plague us or propel us into the arms of our Creator. May the Lord enlighten your path and give you the insight to understand Isaiah chapter 53 and to find a new and personal relationship with the God who made you and loves you. Dr. Mitch Glaser, Jerusalem, May 2010. Introduction. If you are Jewish, whether or not you are observant, you probably have a sense of identification with the history of our people. You are likely reluctant to do anything that you believe would cause you to step away from or dishonor that heritage. This is what crossed my mind when someone suggested to me that Jesus was the promised Messiah of Israel. I thought, you will never get me to believe that unless you demonstrate it to me from within the Jewish world. Show it to me from our own sacred writings. Then I'll look at it more closely. Don't quote the New Testament to me. My unspoken challenge was answered. One of the pivotal passages of the Hebrew Bible that revolutionized my thinking on the subject was the 53rd chapter of the book of Isaiah. Believe me, it was not easy to believe that Jesus was the Messiah and the fulfillment of all we hoped for as Jews throughout the centuries. It was a struggle, especially because this ancient prophecy describes the Messiah in a way that I did not expect. Instead of the Messiah coming as a warrior king conquering our enemies, as I was raised to believe, this chapter portrays him as a humble man who ultimately suffered for the sins of all humanity at the cost of his own life. At first, it just did not add up. Maybe you feel the same way. Jesus, or as we call him by his Hebrew name, Yeshua, a derivative, Joshua, as in the book of Joshua, might seem to be the most unlikely of all persons to fit your image of the Messiah. And I had another problem. It was also hard for me to consider Jesus objectively because of the harm that had been done to the Jewish people in his name by his so-called followers, i.e., the Christians. It is natural to be suspicious of someone whose supposed devotees have behaved so destructively. On top of that was the undeniable fact that Jesus, or the Jesus I grew up avoiding, seemed, quite frankly, to be the farthest thing from a Jewish Messiah that I could possibly imagine. Let's face it, most of the images that are portrayed of Yeshua are alien to Jewish life and culture. That's why Isaiah 53 was such an eye-opener. Many Jewish people, even those who are religious, are unfamiliar with Isaiah chapter 53, because Isaiah 53 is not included in the weekly portions read in the synagogue. I would not suggest that omitting this chapter from the weekly portion was an intentional act of conspiracy, yet it is somewhat mysterious as to why the cyclical synagogue readings go from Isaiah chapter 52 to chapter 54. We are all free to make up our own minds about the reason why our sages chose to skip over the 53rd chapter. It's true that since Jewish scholars have wrestled with Isaiah 53 and have chosen not to interpret this passage as fulfilled by Jesus of Nazareth, perhaps some have chosen not to pursue this possibility because of the potentially severe social penalties they might suffer. I ask you to try for the moment to put aside any prejudices, however justifiable, and carefully consider what follows. I'm hoping that you will have an open mind and that you will draw your own conclusions as you read it. Please pray that God would reveal to you the truth about this intriguing text. Isaiah 53. Who would have believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he shot up right forth as a sapling, and as a root out of a dry ground. He had no form nor comeliness that we should look upon him, nor beauty that we should desire him or delight in him. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of pains, or as some translations say, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. This particular translation says disease, and as one from whom men hide their face. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely our diseases, or some translations say, infirmities, he did bear, and our pains he carried. Whereas we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded because of our transgressions, or iniquities, sins. He was crushed because of our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace, or welfare, was upon him, and with his stripes we were healed. All we like sheep did go astray. We turned every one to his own way, and the Lord has made to light on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, though he humbled himself, and he opened not his mouth, as a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and as a sheep that is before her shearers is dumb, yea, he opened not his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away, and with his generation who did reason, for he was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people to whom the stroke was due. And they made his grave with the wicked, and with the rich his tomb. Although he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth, yet it pleased the Lord to crush him by disease, to see if his soul would offer itself in restitution, that he might see his seed, prolong his days, and that the purpose of the Lord might prosper in his hand. Of the travail of his soul he shall see to the full, even my servant, who by his knowledge did justify the righteous one to the many, and their iniquities did he bear. Therefore will I divide him a portion among the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the mighty, because he bared his soul unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors, yet he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. In this book, we will examine the historical trustworthiness of the Old and New Testaments, learn about the nature of prophecy and the concept of atonement, or at-one-ment, and compare the life and character of Yeshua with the specific details found in Isaiah chapter 53. Come on this journey with me. All you need is an open mind and an open heart. End of introduction. To be continued.